Chairman of NITI Aayog, all the distinguished guests and young entrepreneurs, let me first express my gratefulness to Mr. Sindhya, the Honorable Minister for Civil Aviation, for his presence today. He provides a unique opportunity for all of us to connect with all the drone pioneers of the country and inaugurate the Drone Cloud Innovation Center. It demonstrates the progress made by the country in this emerging area, and he will here in his discussion lay down the way forward. We've come a long way in terms of developing indigenous drone platforms and solutions that are being utilized for a range of commercial and military applications. I don't want to get into the benefits of drones. They are all from weather to delivering medicine to benefiting in aspirational districts to aerial surveys to search and rescue. The possibilities are all endless. And the recent policy changes in regulatory regime and promoting manufacturing under the leadership of the minister has given a huge impetus to the sector. There has been provision for inclusion of drones in Budget 22 via initiatives such as Drone Shakti and Kisan drones. In line, we work very closely with the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and our attempt is to provide a platform to creating an inclusive ecosystem where innovators, industry, research and academia, government stakeholders work together in a very, very big way. Today's program is a step in that direction. We, in our experience studio, we do every month a new thing. So this entire month is devoted to drones. With these few words, I really take this opportunity of welcoming the Honorable Minister. I will now move on to Rama Devi Lanka, the Director of Emerging Technologies, Government of Telangana. You will speak on medicine from the sky, and you have exactly 3 to 4 minutes. Rama Devi.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Minister.
Good to see you again.
Yes, sir. Vice Chairman, representatives from the industry and the government organization, a very good morning to all of you. In fact, the State Minister was supposed to be here, but due to some prior commitment, he could not come to ask you to handle the card. Yeah, thank you. As you all know, Telangana has been a pioneer in using drones for various sectors. In fact, our initiative started way back in 2018 when we came up with the drone framework. It was vision to create a dynamic, vibrant drone ecosystem which will accelerate adoption as well as economic growth in the state. We have implemented successful projects and also because of the regulations could actually accelerate the implementation of the project. And a very important one which close to our heart is medicine from the sky, which the Honorable Minister himself has launched last August in our budget. And now we are taking it to the next stage by actually offering free services in a district called Bhadrachalam, where a drone will actually collect diagnostic samples. People who are living in tribal areas, because we have testing centers, so people are not able to actually access the testing centers. So we are using drones to pick up those diagnostic samples, apart from vaccines and other essential medicine supplies. The kind or the range of solutions that we are implementing in Telangana today can be attributed to the rich innovation ecosystem that we have today. And as we speak today, actually morning, a drone pod is being inaugurated in T-Hub, accelerated specifically for drones. It's happening today at around 11:30 or so. So the T-Hub, we have another organization called T-Work that actually helps startups to develop, prototypes, develop certain mechanical parts. We have here trained Maru drone. In fact, he has implemented a use case for a forestation program called Harabara, where we are using drones to drop tree balls. So T-Work helps the startups to develop its mechanical aperture drop trees. So the point that I'm trying to make is we have innovation partners who are helping the startups at every stage. Just to give you an example, we have another organization called Research Innovation Circle of Hyderabad. In fact, they again helped a startup, again it's smart drones, I think. We have a use case where we are using drones to spray bioenzymes on lakes and ponds to eradicate mosquitoes. So specialized enzymes, bioenzymes had to be prepared. We partnered with IIT in Institute of Chemical Technology. So this is the way collaboration is hard, based on the rich innovation ecosystem is driving the adoption of these technologies. So we believe that our initiative, that we are implementing would actually help activate the vision of making India as a drone hub. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramadevi, so much. I would now turn to Mr. Atul Kalwal from the National Disaster Response Force on the use of drones for disaster response.
Honorable Minister, very distinguished guests, wish you all a very good morning. I have a small presentation for the use of drones in disaster situations. Can we have it on, please? Observation of this as far as the NDRF. So, pre-disaster incidents for immediate planning, early warning system, and for training interventions to make field modeling. We are going ahead with simulator for training of this immediate protection. During disaster, we can have a mobile ground control station, and this, the video you see on the top, is of the Chennai disaster which happened in February last year. And this is the footage of that, of the drone going into the tunnel to see where I cannot certainly go. Now the issue here was flying beyond visual line of sight, so it could go very deep into the tunnel. Then, for guiding and rescue, we can have PA systems, we can have IR cameras, thermal cameras, searchlights, which not only guide the distance but also guide the rescues to find out where people stranded and how to the rescuers reach there. Then during CPR and contingencies like the Visakhapatnam saline gas leakage, which happened in May 2020, the local police went to actually exit that place, felt the effect of the gas, and found them actually possibly did not suffer any major issue, but they were really uncomfortable with the gas effective air pressurization. So a drone can actually prevent that risk coming to the rescuers, where a drone can sense in terms of such chemicals or will maybe activity before the rescues enter the area. During disaster, we can use it for delivering medicines or food, and also interestingly, if you see point number 7, the global are very recently, where the victims had to spend 2 nights or a full day, some of them in Kerala before they were rescued. Through drones, we could not deliver food and water, but we could deliver a piece of rope which could then be used by them to pull up the stuff which helped them sustain. And our 76 people in that tragedy, we lost 3 lives unfortunately, but so many people were rescued in one piece well and alive. It can access to accessible area. Political, where one person got stuck in Kerala in February this year, across the overhang, down a huge cliff, could not be seen unless still a drone was sent down to see where that person had got stuck in February. In a similar case in Mahabaleshwar, 3 years back, a bucket fallen down and remained unseen. Without the drone, we could not even see where the bucket finally ended up, whether somebody was alive or not, and drone could give us that capability in such situations. Post-disaster, we can use it for assessing damage and losses, understanding how it happened, medical supplies can be reached, and for reconstruction can be done for analysis and learning. Advantages you already sure otherwise aware of. Farm technology is something that is used in the forest fires as well, which is another priority area which is coming on to our plate, mandate of NDRF, spear drones, and you can mount several kinds of sensors on drones to give us more data on what is happening on the ground. Issues we have is their inability to fly in bad weather conditions, or when we use them in new technology conditions, they not get authorized to us. Conditions are a bit of an issue, which is taken by for disaster situations. Certainly, dependence on GSM or GPS, operational time and payloads need to be improved upon. So these suggestions are here in front of you. We want high battery life, associated with other departments of trials. So indirectly, our mission is conducting trials of those for us today and tomorrow at Pune, and teams of the NDRF, other SDRF also are in Pune to have a look at those trials and take them forward. Collision avoidance, optimal payloads, terrain modeling sensors which can make it a better excellent terrain, it can prevent it from crashing, return to home solutions, night operability, and detection of lights which can help us rescue more people. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister and Vice Chair. Chairman and CEO of NITI, and all my friends. I was just saying that this is the youngest crowd I've seen in a NITI conference room in quite a while. So I'm delighted, actually, that it's so wonderful to see that, in fact, the youth of India and the young people of India are driving forward this major mission. I think starting from the minister, this is the youngest crowd that we have seen in this conference. All oldies like us are used to see much older people, so it makes me feel great. I want to talk about the Prime Minister's vision and the vision of the country to make these things move forward quicker. Quality Council of India was very happy to take on the responsibility to try and to put in place a certification system for fraud. That is a necessity, but the idea is to put it in place so that it is fast, it is fair, and it is broad. Okay. Otherwise, it doesn't work, right? So, if we put in place a certification system like old, where it would take a long time to put in place and people couldn't access it, and it would be difficult, we would not be able to move forward as quickly as possible. So I'm very happy to say that with a lot of effort on everyone's part, including the industry, which is on the technical committee for the standards. The standards are not designed by us, they're designed by the industry in addition to some of the experts. That in fact the standards are in place, the certification bodies are in place, we have 60 plus applications that are partly in place, and I think within the next week or two manufacturers will be certified. Okay. So I think this is a record pace. I don't think we are satisfied with it. We want to be even faster and even more supportive. Anyone who has any questions on what the certification requires, there are YouTube videos that will explain every single thing on it. If you still have any questions, you please call PCI. If you can't get through to anybody, call me. This is really very high priority, and we will do everything possible in the interest of safety and standardization to get this thing done very fast. When you look across any country in the world, this is a very, very fast process of certification and manufacturers coming in and developing quality. And we are all committed absolutely to doing that. The person in charge of the program is up here. Manish, please stand up. Manish, please give your number to everyone. Anyone has any questions at any time of day or night, please call. Because right from the PM on and Minister on down, the message is get it done fast. And I want to do something that's faster than what you do. Everyone knows super fast at reacting to everything. So maybe it can do it a little faster. But in all sincerity, the system is in place. It's moving forward. Any help anyone needs to understand what the regulations are, what the certification process is, it's available on YouTube, it's available on our website. If you can't find it, then call us, and we will help you through it. And I think in a couple of months, we will have a large number of manufacturers who will be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you. Thank you so much for this speedy action in the regulatory ecosystem. May I now turn to the Vice Chairman of NITI Aayog, Mr. Suman Berry, for his special address of Rose.
Honorable Minister of Civil Aviation, within the guest speaker, CEO, NITI Aayog, my good friend Aayog, who I've known in many incarnations, but now Chair of the Quality Council of India, members of this ecosystem, growing ecosystem, but most of all, youngsters. I don't consider myself one in this room who have brought so much energy to this initiative in NITI Aayog. Mr. I'm very pleased that NITI has been working with your ministry on this. One question that does arise in my mind, and it's not a space that we're watching very closely, is are we being too shy about what we're achieving? Because what I see in the international media is much more about what China is doing on board. And so this event itself has been a revelation. Second, what we saw in the Experience Studio, what Mr. Zanubhai has just said about the evolution of standards. I mean, I think all of this is a story that probably it's your ministry more than me, but anything we can do to assist you on this. But thirdly, the humanitarian and civilian applications strike me as really extraordinary. I mean, it's commonplace view or views interview. And so I'm very proud that my predecessors, and particularly CEO, have latched onto this and are providing support. I know you have a busy schedule, and I'm standing between the audience and you, so I'm very pleased that you are my first guest as member of the Council of Ministers, and we stand ready to support you further in whichever way we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's very, we now turn to a very dynamic minister, Mr. Sindhya, who's taken a series of measures to promote drones and India as a manufacturing nation. And he will spell out his vision to make India as the drone hub of the world. Over to Mr. Sindhya.
Thank you, Mr. Kant. Let me just say this, that it's not only a great pleasure, but it's a great honor to be here. This is a new dynamic NITI Aayog. I walked up 5 flights of stairs and I just went to the corridor and I can't tell you, just intensity. There's an energy field. And it's just great to see so many youngsters and the brimming amount of energy which will transform, I firmly believe, India in the years to come. So I want to thank my good friend Amitabh Kanji from the bottom of my heart and being a proud Indian in terms of what he has done to transform this institution. It has gone from being an institution that was predominantly crowded with people of my age or older to the future of India and the future of the world. And I don't mean that in any less measure than what it portends. The youngsters that I see here, and I just had a brief side conversation with Mr. Kant, from all professional walks of life that have given up their career trajectories to be part of the India story. Both a welcome to all of you and a thanks to all of you, because that's the India that we intend to build under the dynamic leadership of our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. That being said, I also have my old good friend, Sumandari ji, who I've interacted with in many earlier avatars, now as Vice Chairman of NITI Aayog, so welcome and it's a pleasure to be with you. We have a number of people that have put into action what we have dreamt of sitting here today. From our DG of NDRF, Atul Karwal ji, Smith Shah, who's President of the TFI, Drone Federation of India, to Rama Devi ji, who I've had the pleasure of interacting with on stage in Telangana. She's a fiery speaker on a public space, on a public platform, which she hasn't done so today. But and Adil ji, of course, who his reputation precedes him. So welcome to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be at quote unquote the incubator of modern India, which is NITI Aayog, and what you all have done here in the recent past with setting up the Atal Tinkering Labs, with the various technologies that you're bringing in place with your experience studio, whether it be augmented reality, whether it be smart devices, Internet of Things, 3D printing, blockchain, all of these that are words in our lexicon, but you're actually translating this into action. So it's wonderful being here, and I'm kind of going back to my college days and my days as an investment banker myself, and I've told Amitabh Kanji, please call me back. I want to spend more time here, and I want to spend time with all our youngsters and understand their thoughts and their ambitions and interact with all of them. Moving on to today's topic, very briefly, because I see that I have 5 minutes allocated to me, and Amitabh Kanji is a very strict disciplinarian that I have known from my father's time. So I'm going to stick to the time limit. I just want to say this, that we're entering a new age. We're entering urban mobility. We've got Kanika ji sitting here also. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that as we enter the internet age, we're actually entering an urban mobility age, a drone age, eVTOL age. And I've said this often in the last 8 or 9 months as I've been exposed to my ministry, that I believe that what we as children saw in science fiction movies is going to become a reality in the next 10 years. So I'm sitting amongst you not as a minister, but as someone who really wants to see translation of thoughts into action. As Adilji just said, as Atulji has just exposition to us, as Ramadevi has shown, application of what we think is the need of the hour. And therefore, the explosion that we are thinking of really looks at, is heralding the time that is about to come. And let me tell you that, mind you, that the drone era, as we call it, as Sumanji talked about, this is something that we are not talking about enough. This is something that's new. No, it's not new, and no, it's not 21st century. No, it's not 22nd century. This has been around with us since 1849, when Austria decided to attack Venice and started dropping bombs from hot air balloons, right? Those were the initial drones, way back almost 200 years ago. But the adaptability of that is coming down. And I'm not going to get into the details of applications because that's where the essence of success lies. And Amitabh ji and Sumanji both have elucidated and elaborated on that, whether you look at the issue of war, where it's used as a symbol of, as a potent vehicle of asymmetrical war. You've seen that with what happened in Armenia and Azerbaijan, what you're seeing today happening in parts of the world, whether you look at it from the point of view of law and order. One of the applications and one of the competitive processes that they had in place in Telangana, a girl came up with an idea that why don't we use drones as the first line of action and response when any individual presses the red button on their mobile phone for an emergency. And prior to the police getting in there, that signal should straight away go to a cop station, and the drone should be up in the air, hovering with a camera over the crime site. And therefore, the perpetrators are then warned that the law and order system is in place there. So that's an application that we haven't thought of now with regard to pipelines and agriculture and the Swamitva scheme. These are transforming lives in many ways. So it's a tool and an enabler to transform lives in our country. Cadastral surveys are being done. People are being given land titles. Seed spraying is happening. Pesticide spraying is happening. So applicability is tremendous. But what we needed to have in place prior to that is a policy. And the first thing that I did when I came in as minister is we looked at the old drone policy and we said this completely needs to be rehashed and redone. So we brought in a new drone policy in August of last year, did away with the number of forms, 25 to 5, did away with the number of fees, 72 to 4 only forms of fees, made it much more nimble, much more quick, much more effective. But that wasn't the end goal. That was only the beginning. Within a month, we had promised, and Amber today, my joint secretary, is seated here, we said we'll bring about an airspace map. We brought in place an airspace map, and mind you, it's a tough ask to be able to map the green, red, and yellow zones across the country. You're talking about interacting with state governments, you're talking about interacting with central governments, defense, home, many other governments, and we did that in a period of months. We then brought about a PLI scheme, which was a first, and I must thank the NITI Aayog for assisting us in being able to do that. The fact that we brought in a PLI scheme of 120 crores for an industry that's fledgling at 60 crores, 2x the size of the industry, 40% value addition against 50% value addition across other industries. The fact that you have 20% incentive across the 3-year period, which normally assumes a sliding scale. So these are innovations that we've been working at together to spur this industry on. And finally, the potential. The potential is huge. On the manufacturing side, you're looking at a 5,000 crore investment roughly. You're looking at the creation of 10,000 jobs. On the services side, which is 10x that amount, you're looking at creating a 30,000 crore industry with close to about 10 lakh direct jobs. Today, a drone pilot can be trained 12th class pass, no college degree required. 2 months, 3 months, he's into his job or into her job. 30,000 rupees a month as a salary. You need close to about 1 lakh drone pilots in the years to come. So the opportunity is tremendous. But what needs to be done? You need to put in place a tripod. The first leg of that tripod is policy making, which government has done. The second leg of that tripod is incentivizing, which we've done through the PS. And the third leg of that tripod is creation of demand. Today you've got 12 ministries of government actually leading that charge. Whether it's agriculture, whether it's mining, whether it's Ministry of Rural Development with land records, right? So you put in place the levers that need to be put in place for that explosion to happen. And I am very confident that with the leadership that we have with our youth in our country, we are going to see that happen. I also want to congratulate NITI Aayog, which along with my ministry, we are heralding 2 competitions today, drones for social impact, which will be a startup competition, as well as robotics workshop and competition under the Atal Tinkering Labs to foster innovation. And I'm sure that these will go a long way. But let me not just stop here. eVTOLs are a reality today. It's not the future. It is the present. I've just been to the US and to Canada. eVTOLs are in manufacturing process there. They're being produced. The Air Force and the Defense Forces in both those countries are using eVTOLs, which is always the vanguard. First step before civilian use is brought in place. They are being used as transport aircraft, 6-seaters, 8-seaters. The next step is going to be FAA and EASA certification, after which they will become a reality. We have a number of eVTOL players from the US and Canada that are interested in setting up production centers in India. You need to put the battery charging process, the lineup in place along that route as well. Very akin to mobile phones and spectrum and towers. Same principle with regard to eVTOLs. And that has to become, I must emphasize, become a reality in India. The Prime Minister's prerogative has always been, India can no longer, and I underline this, no longer be a follower. We need to become a leader. So whether we become the drone hub of the world by 2030, we become an eVTOL leader in the world by 2030, that is something we need to concentrate on under the bigger heading of urban air mobility. Once again, thank you for having me, and let's get on the road.
After another meeting, whenever you feel I don't want people to wait there for you as well, so I'm aware, but I invite Sumit Shah, Drone Federation, to quickly moderate this interaction with the industry, and I would request everyone to stick to your time schedule. No one will speak for more than 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Very good.
Thank you so much, sir. It's really wonderful to see Honorable Civil Aviation Minister, Vice Chairman of NITI Aayog and CEO of NITI Aayog and various other members of the drone ecosystem who are on a single table and discuss the way forward and various other support mechanisms that will be required to grow the drone ecosystem and even make India a global drone hub. So some of the ecosystem efforts that you very well did mention about the 3 pillars. The tripod is the policy, the incentives, as well as government as the market maker. One more very important initiative that usually is not well mentioned but worth noting is the ban on the import of drones, which actually gives a huge competitive advantage to domestic players, not just for the domestic market, but because there is some sort of a cover for the domestic players,
they get to benefit in the domestic market, but also the volumes help them build technology and reliable solutions for the global economy. So that is a fantastic thing that happened, which is probably the fourth most important thing, because yes, we may have had a little bit of policy issues and we may have taken up the policy liberalization after some time, but this fourth important decision is going to help us catch up, and not just catch up but be much better than various other ecosystems. We've seen various neighboring countries already reach out to some of the defense manufacturers as well as to some of the logistics and healthcare drone manufacturers. They have been reaching out to them and they are asking for their products and services to be deployed in the neighboring countries. So export is a very major focus that is going to be of the drone federation as well as the industry. With that I would want to start the session for the day. And to all the speakers, I request to be specific on the point. Let's look at what more can we do as the ecosystem combined to make sure that we are able to progress further.
So I just, we're still running against time. So we have a detailed session. I would request everyone to keep on quickly so that we just have about 7-8 minutes. Everybody can take 1 minute and speak that with the point.
So I'll go to Ankit Mehta from Idea Coach. Maybe your thoughts on becoming Atmanirbhar and large-scale defense drone exporter.
Thank you everyone for having us here. I think it's a great interaction session, and to share that as demand is increasing, the concept of indigenization is naturally going in everything that we do. There is a deep desire in the industry to build as much as possible in our country, and already apart from certain dumb components, at least we are not buying a lot from us northern neighbors. So I think that's the first step in de-risking ourselves as a nation, particularly on certain critical sectors. But as the demand is going up, we are seeing that a lot of stuff that was being imported is now being built here, and the quality is being matched and improved going forward. And I think as an indigenization target, I think the target should not just be to build all the dumb components here and earn very low margins. In my view, the Indian industry should focus on building intellectual property, building disruptive advantages, differentiated products, where we can build for the world, because to attract the rest of the world to buy from us, we will have to do that. The rest of the world is not going to buy from us just because we are building it here. They will buy because they are looking at something new, something differentiated to offer, and I think that's something which is going to be very critical. And last piece I want to share is that ultimately we are building hardware, and hardware to go through certification, to go through testing, to go through various motions of being airworthy takes a little bit more time than software in general. In fact, for safety critical systems, particularly urban air mobility, even that takes 10x longer than one can imagine how much time it will take for software to get done. So therefore, I think on some of the parts we have to bear patience. The industry will respond and things will converge very, very fast as we continue on this track. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ankit. For the rest of the speakers, I would request to be specific on the one ask that you want from the ecosystem and the one thing that you are contributing to, so we can give the responses short. Next we have Vignesh from the World Economic Forum. Vignesh, maybe you can share your thoughts on the concept of positive federalism.
Thanks, Nitin, and thank you for all the dignitaries present here today. On behalf of the World Economic Forum, we've been part of some rather interesting initiatives here in India. But that said, I think now more than ever, I think the need for us to draw out a model or draw out the center state cooperation down to science is more urgent now than ever. So if you look at the past 8 to 12 months, we've seen a lot of very interesting initiatives that have been either state-led or agency-led at the state level. And we've also seen the national frameworks being invoked into this program. You mentioned the Price Responsible Scheme being two of the many such programs that have come through. That said, it is important for us to navigate this whole internal mechanism between center, state, and district, because the real benefit of this technology lies in rural India, in our opinion, and in our experience of the project that we're undertaking.
Now, very recently in partnership with NITI Aayog and our colleagues here, we also launched in India as well a partnership called JETSETGO, that's the Drone Impact Council for Planning and Knowledge Exchange. We did hear from one of our dignitaries about India not maybe saying enough to the world about what it's doing, but I think with the launch of this alliance, something like Quad Alliance for Drones, we're planning to launch in the next 6 to 12 months. But I think if we're able to navigate our processes internally, if we're able to master how the state, district, and the center coordinate with each other, I think the Quad program is something that India can take pole position in. And I think Israel is actually not just a cultural partner, but also we share historic ties with them on a host of engineering subjects. So I will actually stop at that point and elaborate a bit later.
Thank you. Next we have Vikas from Rapid. Vikas, maybe you want to share your thoughts on the biggest industrial applications of drones and the other stuff that you know?
Yeah, good morning all of you. I just dive straight to the point because for this ecosystem to sustain and grow, we need to have strategic materials in place and scientific wings in place because application is one thing, but in order to become a world leader, we will have to make BLDC motors, we will have to make cells of the batteries, we will have to make optics and materials, we will have to make engines run on hydrogen. So we are doing some of them. We have come up with some engines right now. And to the Honorable Minister, we are also making eVTOL. So people are making eVTOL, and these scientific research is going to help us grow in the manner we want to in the world. I'll just say that.
Thank you, Vikas. Next we have Swanan from Mahindra & Mahindra. The various interventions on the agriculture ecosystem and the development of drones on a large scale.
So agriculture is definitely one of the important sectors which is getting benefited from the current reference rules. If you see Indian farmers, the major pertinent problem which we face is the availability of the resources during the critical crop growing stages, and the spraying is one of the important applications which impacts the yield. Spraying is one of the important applications which is important, and if you see in Maharashtra or in some other parts of India also, the multiple farmers and laborers lose their life because of the improper spraying applications and contamination into the chemical. So that is immediately helping farming as a community. But saying that still drone is a very high precision technology from a farmer's perspective, and they will take time to get it adopted by themselves, and it has a potential to create employment at the very ground level, developing the village level entrepreneurs or maybe the farmers who can take it as a part-time job. So there is a need to develop a kind of a workflows or in the local languages that will be understood by the farmers or maybe the farmers' sons in implementing that technology or adopting that at the ground level, and other could be the financial support which government has extended for this year that might need to be extended for further more time so that it will help in actually adopting this technology on ground. And what we are doing for this is we are actually developing the custom hiring centers at each district and block levels from where we can rent these solutions to the farmers so that they can adopt this technology.
Thanks, Swanan. Next we have Gaurav from Technical Innovations. They will be doing healthcare delivery.
Good morning, everyone. I am from Technical, and some of the important use cases that we have in the healthcare is transporting blood and blood-related components. Every year we waste around 6.5 lakh units of blood unit, and each blood unit can save up to 3 lives. So 19.5 lives can be saved if blood wastage is reduced. So it's one of the most important use cases that we cater to. Apart from that, we have demonstrated in various projects in Meghalaya, Himachal, and the place that the drones can be 10 times faster than the road transport in the hills area, hilly region, and up to 3 times faster in the plain. So wherever time constraint is there, those golden hours like road accidents, heart attacks, those golden hour criticalities can be catered to. Apart from time constraint, temperature critical scenarios are also very important, which like during the MSCS we have showcased that we can have a cold chain maintained at 2.4, which is very, so some important use cases there is vaccine delivery, emergency medicine, and one very important is anti-venom transportation, which is critical in the rural areas. Apart apart from this, we in the long run see urban transportation, and as government is focusing a lot on teleconsultation, that again is an aspect that drones can complement with regards to.
Thanks, Gaurav.
Let's see the last.
Sure. Next year, Kanika from JETSETGO to talk about the eVTOLs and the passengers.
I think you said most of what I wanted to say. I came up with a very simple message that why can't India be the first to make eVTOLs a reality? Why can't we be the first passenger flight from the Indian skies, from the Indian soil to the Indian skies? $22 billion is the avoidable social congestion cost in Bangalore, Calcutta, and Delhi alone each year. 18 million residents of Bangalore waste 600 man-hours and 280,000 liters of fuel per week in Bangalore. All of this gets reduced to 0.2% if eVTOLs are made a reality. I don't have much for us. I think we have the most forthcoming and forward-thinking government we've ever had the pleasure of working with in the industry. I simply think that the one small change we can probably do is enable a test and environment for foreign OEMs, for Indian OEMs, to actually come and test these devices in India, work them in the Indian skies to see how best we can use them. I do hope that the Bombay of the future we told you in the experience center does become a reality. Thank you.
Chirag, good morning, sir, and good morning, everyone.
So we've broadly identified scaling in three categories. One to do with drones flying, data capturing and operating different types of drones. The second is, focusing on drone repair, maintenance, assembly, and the third one is on drone data processing and, analytics. So talking about mainstreaming, so one of the asks for the industry is, to push a vernacular medium of instruction. Currently, we're only following English, and the whole DTC certification is also in English. But the farmers, kisan adoption, that all has to happen in their hinterland. And in order to enable that, we need to have this, vernacular medium going. The second aspect would be perhaps identifying the channels of these technical manpower. So we, perhaps introducing technical courses in ITIs and other polytechnics, where we can get a critical mass available for the industry. And then thirdly, from our training experience today, the students, the youth are not self-incentivized to come and train. One of the reasons is perhaps there was a communication of the license getting abolished, which if we could probably, bring back the fact that you need to have a license, build some awareness on that, and also enable some kind of a skill zone, because these people aren't self-sponsoring today. So that's the reason why we're not, skilling enough. So ideally, if there is some access to skill zone, that will be great. And then lastly, if we could build some sort of, quality standard framework for training as well, because at the end of the day, these guys are handling, multi-lakh rupee drones and going in the market. So it cannot be commoditized. While we wish to achieve a critical mass, but we should have some sort of, standardization as well. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. We'll gather more reports for submitting it to the
Let me quickly respond now. So I'm going to go person by person. So Ankit raised the whole issue of disruptive advantages. We need to move up the technology curve. Hardware takes 10 times more time. Software issues. I agree and I don't agree, because please understand this. I'm not a drone specialist, but you guys are. Hardware is a skeleton. Brain is the software. And the opportunity in the drone business lies in two areas. One is in the services area in terms of the employability and the scale that you're looking at, right? You're looking at numbers where you're talking about crores, right? So the employability of that. The second is really looking at the software aspect, because that's where the brain is. And every application of yours requires a different software. So the opportunity for software to just boom and the applicability of that is beyond what we can imagine. However, I will say this, that for India to become the drone hub of the world, you need to, and I completely agree with Ankit, that you need to go down the innovation curve and IP. We cannot do copycat. We need to be on that innovation curve, and we need to create that intellectual property in India. So right now what we are doing, batteries, components, all of that, yes, copy it for now. But then we need to have a huge part of industry that's actually looking at innovation from where we are. Today you're looking at using batteries. You're looking at using, some places are looking at using fuel. Look at those aspects of hydrogen. How do you make the battery, the lithium battery smaller? How do you Moore's law? Can you bring more chips on that scale and increase your quantum capacity? Right? Those are the aspects that we need to look at on the hardware as well. And yes, we need to become the innovation capital. And yes, we need to set up an incubator that looks at the current hardware technology and looks at next gen today. Because it's only when we prove ourselves there that you're actually going to become a drone hub as far as manufacturing is concerned. Vignesh, World Economic Forum. Center state needs to be modeled for innovation, rural India key. We're not saying enough. Look, there are two models in the world. The first model is before you have enough to say, you overcommit and you underperform. I don't like that model. I like the model where I undercommit and I overperform. Right? We're doing a lot in India. Ramadevi is sitting here, medicines, northeast states, we are transporting vaccines, we're doing blood, we're looking at venom. But let's build that critical scale before we talk to India. I don't want a situation where we talk up the story and then we don't have scale when people come here and find out what we do. So to Suman Berry's point and to your point, I don't like it. Secondly, center state. Don't get into this whole model of center state. Innovation means you let it erupt from whichever corner it's erupting from. We need to make sure that we put in place the levers that will allow disruption to happen from different areas. She is doing something else in Telangana. Let Maharashtra do something else. Then other states do something. Don't get into this bureaucracy of center state. We have to make sure that we play the role of facilitators. We allow that innovation to happen. Let each state, each district, each taluka take on its own form. Don't get into this funnel of government bureaucracy. Vikas Mishra, hardware innovation is key, hydrogen, etc. Very important point you made. Scientific research is key. Innovation is tied with scientific research. Scientific research is tied with educational institutions. And here I'd love NITI Aayog and my ministry to work together with the IITs because that's the labyrinth of innovation. So we need, like we set up Atal Tinkering Labs for schools, we need to set that system up for universities so that innovation comes from universities. Because then only will it go to industry. Look at what Germany has done with the union between universities and industry. We need to do that in India, and we need to do that now. So a lot of you need to tie up with those IITs, and we need to be the ones that will lay that framework for you so that you can then go ahead and do it. Someone talked about Israel. Vignesh. I went to Israel as Commerce and Industry Minister. They have a CTO in government. They have a Chief Technology Officer. Sun Microsystems has it. Microsoft has it, Apple has it. This country has a CTO. So I'm glad you tied up with Israel, and I was of the opinion we need to set up those incubators. And Kansab, a lot of those Israeli guys are willing to collaborate in setting up incubators in India. Let's move on that path. And let's set up those incubators in India. A joint Indo-Israeli incubator in India. And we look at that for technology on this front. तुमचं नाव काय बाबा महाराष्ट्राचं स्वानंद गुडाचे मराठी येतं ना तुम्हाला? Alright, you talk about agriculture, spraying, etc., high precision, adoption is an issue. No, I don't agree. Now, you talked about the issue of farmers not being used to this technology, adoption being an issue. That's where services come. That's where you need to set up companies that will say, okay, these 20, 30 districts, my domain. I know this inside out. Amitabh ji is a farmer. I'm going to go to him with my value proposition. You want your farm sprayed? I will do it for you. You don't need to invest in the capital equipment. You don't need to get into this hardware stuff. I will do it. You just pay me my cost, my job work. I'll do the job work. That's the opportunity. So we need to set up these companies that are going to take up those 15 districts, 20 districts, map the whole district. They should know this guy धान की खेती करता है, ये ज्वार लगाता है. This is his spraying time. I need to go to him and I need to get the service. Once he gets used to me doing his service, once, twice, thrice, I guarantee you, this kid will set up his own company and do the service for himself and the farmers next to him. So that's not a barrier to entry. Adoption will happen, but first he needs to get used to that product, and for that he needs to set up a service company that will serve him. Okay. Then we go to the issue of local languages. Completely agree. We need to make sure that we have that local language. Gaurav made points on blood usage and venom, which I agree with. 10 times faster in this area, 3 times the plane. Golden hour, completely agree with you. And that golden hour principle also applies to helicopters. So I'm doing that with HEMS, helicopter emergency medical services with Gadkari Sahab on highways, so we can set that up. Same thing for drones. Kalita ji talked about eVTOLs, passenger flights. Just keep in mind, Kalita ji, that what's most important, yes, we need to get ahead of the curve. We need to deploy this technology. Remember, safety and security is paramount. Okay? You're on a situation where airspace is not mapped, routes are not mapped, much like telecom spectrum. We need to, like I'm doing for helicopters, I'm creating air corridors for helicopters alone. Bombay, Pune, Begumpet, Hyderabad. The third one is no. Ahmedabad to Gandhinagar. I've created 3 helicopter corridors. The same way you need to create that for eVTOLs, right? A. B. Also please remember, transport aircraft need a very high level of certification. Okay? So first, in India also, when you bring these eVTOLs, we'll have to have our defense services adopt them. Then, just like in the US, it goes through FAA certification. In Europe, it goes through EASA. Neither country has given it yet. It's in the process. In India, it will have to go through DGCA. Right? So I understand your urgency, but safety and security has to be kept paramount. Because that's my responsibility. So where on the one hand, I'm eager to lay this out, but on the other hand, I have to make sure that I keep safety and security paramount. Chirag, correct? Chirag talked about skilling, flying, repair, excellent analysis. 3 opportunities: flying, repair, and analytics. Data analytics is also an extremely important part of that. All your points with regard to vernacular medium of instruction, identifying ITIs, we're already doing that, right? So, for example, in my state in Madhya Pradesh, we have laid it out across ITIs. We've already created the first drone. Your issue of DGA certification is completely not valid. And I'll tell you why. Because DGCA does not certify pilots. What we do is we certify the drone schools. Once the drone school is certified, your all systems go. He set up a drone school, he's going to be training all the pilots and being given the certificate. My issue is to make sure that he's following processes. Because if you want me to start certifying drone pilots, the numbers are so huge, it's never going to happen. So we've already certified 15 to 18 drone schools as we speak today, across close to 12 states. Right? That's going to be our job. Once we certified that school is going to be all systems go. So the vernacular medium of instruction, all of that should be adopted to that by those schools. And we can make sure that we can put an advisory onto that. We can't mandate it. It's a free market, but we can put an advisory onto that. Not self-incentivized to come and train. I cannot agree with that. Today, a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old kid is on an iPad. You need a 12-pass kid to get it to become a drone pilot. Everyone is hooked onto the screen that you see in front of you. You're going to have millions of kids who are going to come and want to become drone pilots. Going back to the farm example, when you set up those drone service companies and you see that happening in rural India, the next gen, I'll tell you what happened with my weavers in Chandigarh. My constituency, I wanted to proliferate that. How do I get the next gen involved? The next gen is not interested in doing what I was doing, warp and weft, right? The next gen wanted some element of technology. So what did I do? As telecom minister, and IT minister, I took CAD/CAM machines to Chandigarh. And I told them those board cards that you do, which are punch hole, let's do it on a CAD/CAM machine. So I had a bunch of kids, weavers kids, who were excited about being on CAD/CAM and doing the design for their parents. And one of those kids ended up going and designing the scarf for the Commonwealth Games, and he won that competition. And the Chandeli scarves were in the Commonwealth Games. So give technology to kids, they will take it on like no one's business. Not a barrier to entry. Okay? Skill loan, yes, we can look at that, but training is not that expensive, but certainly we can look at that. Quality standard for training. That's what DGCA does with the drones. They will look at the specs and the quality standard. Once all systems go, then it's on to it. Get government involved as little as you can. Don't ask for more government intervention. I want to free it up for you, you're asking me to control it. Thank you very much. Yeah, the Bharat Drone Utsav is on the 27th of May. Of course, Amitabh ji will certainly be there, but all of you, please do come be part of the exercise to actually see this roll out on a nationwide. Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful, and I hope to continue this dialogue. And I want to thank Amitabh ji.
Thanks for this wonderful interaction. May I request all the young entrepreneurs to join us for a photograph with the minister, all the young